Hey, what's up, guys? This is JD Rich coming back at you again with another One Piece video. And today we are having a discussion about Mihawk and Shanks and the possibility of what would happen if they fought again. Now, I'm just make this a quick breakdown video. Now, between Mihawk and Shanks, we know that they are like the greatest rivals as far as like swordsmen and swordsmanship in the series. And for years now, the rivalry has been so built up, like between each of them, as far as like the background of their character from what Oda has done to us, you know, as far as their showcases. Like, we had to wait like damn near 20 plus years to finally see Shanks use an attack. We've been seeing Mihawk use his sword, you know, whether not even named attacks, but we've been seeing Mihawk attack with his sword since the beginning of the series. And you know what I find funny between both of these comparisons, as far as like the aspects of their character when it comes to like conflict and whatnot. When we first meet Shanks and we see Shanks use Conqueror's Haki with him saving Luffy. We see Shanks use Conqueror's Haki from the beginning of the series. And even more so, like going further, we've seen him use instances of Conqueror's Haki. And look at this. With Mihawk, we have seen him use we've seen him use his swordsmanship since the beginning. Now, as far as the named attack goes, I'm not even sure if we've seen a named attack from Mihawk. I don't think we have. I really don't think we've seen a named attack from Mihawk, but we've seen him use his sword. Now, the crazy thing about seeing Mihawk use his sword versus Shanks, finally, years later, using his sword, is what ability does one have that the other does not? Now, this has nothing to do with swordsmanship for real, but other aspects outside of it involving Haki. Now, we know Mihawk has ultimate observation and ultimate armament for real, if you want to speculate in it. Not even, I wouldn't call it ultimate armament, but like he has a high multitude of armament Haki, a high multitude of observation Haki. With Shanks, I think he has all three: armament, observation, and conquerors. But it's said that Shanks is known as like the killer of observation Haki. So, you know, and that more than likely has to do with his conquerors. I believe that has to do with his conquerors, because how can you kill observation with observation Haki? I mean, you probably could if like your prowess of observation Haki is more succinct and skilled than the others, or you just got a more powerful sense of observation than the other. But I believe it's his Conqueror's Haki in Shanks that allows him to be the killer of observation. Now, I believe that Shanks has of course we know for a fact Shanks has Conqueror's Haki, but I do not believe that Mihawk has it. And me saying that Mihawk does not have Conqueror's Haki is not a knock on his skill or even his title. But all I'm saying is this: we've seen Mihawk use sword attacks since the beginning of the story. Not named attacks, but we've seen him attacking with his sword since the beginning of the series. Yet, we've never seen him use Conqueror's Haki. In my personal opinion, I believe that Buggy D. Clown actually confirmed Mihawk not having Conqueror's Haki during the War Marine Ford. Just listen, because I've got a lot of feedback from this, from my claim on this, but remember when Luffy was using Buggy as a substitute for Mihawk to cut him in placement of Luffy trying to get around Mihawk? Now, this is a war. You got to remember, death is a certainty in war. It's damn near unavoidable. And if you happen to avoid it, you were lucky. And maybe it was fate for you not to die on the battlefield. But war consists of death. You know what I'm saying? But also, check this out, man. Mihawk, he was trying to kill Luffy, regardless of any plot points that you want to say, well, it's not meant for Luffy to die due to plot. Nah, forget all that. This is war. When they were fighting in that war, Mihawk was trying to kill Luffy. Why do you think he apologized to Shanks in his mind? Like, I'm not going to show your Straw Hat any mercy on this battlefield now. Yet, when Mihawk was cutting Buggy, of course, you know, Buggy has the chop chop fruit, right? This is the world's greatest swordsman cutting a chop chop user, yet Buggy's devil fruit nullified his sword attacks. Now, let me get this. I'm sure if Mihawk had used some armament in his attack, I think he naturally does that. Like, I think he naturally uses armament without us even seeing it on his sword. So if Mihawk was using armament, which he was, and he cut Buggy, maybe he would have done more damage as far as like physically causing Buggy pain, but not cutting him. Like, yes, he can cut Buggy, and he can have armament in his sword attack, and Buggy's fruit would still nullify the fact that he was cut, but the pain of him being cut would probably still be felt. However, we see Buggy just bounce back from Mihawk's attacks, asking Straw Hat, like, what do you think you're doing? Because Buggy cut him, and Mihawk cut Buggy and realized, like, yo, he's nullifying my sword attacks. So as the world's greatest swordsman, you're trying to get to Luffy, right? Why is it that right then and there, Mihawk did not coat his sword in Conqueror's Haki like any other swordsman with Conqueror's Haki would do if they were fighting a Devil Fruit user? If you're fighting a Devil Fruit user, I'm sure you're going to use Conqueror's Haki in your Haki in general, but especially if you're a swordsman too, you're going to use Conqueror's Haki. Zoro used Conqueror's Haki against King, and he won because, you know, Zoro's that dog, but still. Why is it that Mihawk did not use Conqueror's Haki against Buggy the moment he realized, oh, his Devil Fruit is nullifying my sword attacks? Because he doesn't have it. And that was a confirmation right there. It was a non-verbal confirmation. And that's what I love about Oda. A lot of people love to cherry pick on Oda's confirmations because they rely so much on him being verbal about them, when they don't realize Oda confirms a lot of our secrets and clues with non-verbal confirmation via context clues and story dialogue. Now, Mihawk, he does not have Conqueror's Haki. Now, that does not negate from him being the world's greatest swordsman. However, my video, when I'm talking about Shanks and Mihawk, I want to get into the fact that, like, what would happen if they were to fight again? What would happen? Because throughout their duels, neither one has lost to the other. It seems like the dynamic has always been they tied. But if they were to keep going, who would eventually win? Would there be a eventual victor? Yes, there would be. However, due to Shanks losing an arm, we'll never find out because Mihawk refuses to fight him. Yet, remember, when Mihawk pulled up to Shanks to show him Luffy's poster, he said, like, Shanks said, oh, he gripped his sword and said, hey, Mihawk, I'm a little bit hungover. Have you come for a match? Because I'm not feeling well right now. Shanks expected Mihawk's arrival on that island was to challenge him again. But Mihawk brushed that off like as if I challenged a one-armed man like yourself. As if I'd settle the score with a one-armed man such as yourself. Settle the score. Meaning that to me implies that they are both tied from their last duel. It ended in a tie, a draw. A lot of their duels ended in a draw. However, before Shanks, like, I think after Shanks met Luffy, gave him the hat, he actually ran into Mihawk again. Because Mihawk found out Shanks lost an arm after Shanks sacrificed it for Luffy and his dream and the future of him being the future of pirates. Shanks willingly wanted to fight. I got a feeling that Shanks willingly wanted to fight Mihawk again after meeting Luffy and giving him a hat. But Mihawk was angered at the fact that Shanks lost an arm, yet still wanted to challenge Mihawk. Because what's the point, man? And I'm going to get into that. What's the point of fighting you with one arm? If I beat you, I beat a cripple. If I don't beat you, I lost to a cripple. So it's a it's a lose-lose situation for Mihawk, because when you look at his pride, prestige, and his notoriety, then when you look at the fact that it'll be viewed as like, yo, you literally beat a cripple, you know what I'm saying? But other than that, man, Shanks can hold his own even with one arm. Oda said that Shanks did not get weaker because he lost an arm. In fact, I believe Shanks got stronger and his Haki got stronger as well. He had to improve his Haki, of course. But with Shanks and Mihawk, man, look, when Mihawk showed up to show Luffy's bounty poster, Shanks took him showing up as him looking for a match. Now, what's crazy is this: if you are the world's greatest swordsman, you defend the title, meaning matches come to you. You're defending the title because you're holding it. Matches come to you. Yet the only man who ever rivaled you thought that you came to him for a match because you showed up trying to show the poster of a young boy that he mentored as a pirate, essentially, or inspired to be a pirate. And what's crazy is, like I said, matches come to you, but yet your rival, the only man to ever rival you, even still with one arm, the only man in history to ever rival you, expected you to come by for a match because you casually showed up on an island that he was camping out on. Now, I'm gonna say this again, Mihawk does not have Conqueror's Haki, but that does not take away from his rise to greatness. Like, Mihawk is I love Mihawk and I love Shanks. I love Shanks more. I'm a Shanks fan, yes. But what I love about Mihawk is that he proves that you don't even need Conqueror's Haki to rise to the top. You need armament and observation and a certain skill set of combat, yes. But do you really need Conqueror's Haki to really rise to the top? It depends on what kind of top you're trying to reach. You know, if you want to be the ultimate king of the pirates, yes, I believe you would need Conqueror's Haki. World's greatest swordsman, that's up there. It's like, I'll put it right there. World's greatest swordsman, you don't really need Conqueror's Haki because Mihawk does not have it, yet he became the world's greatest swordsman. Now, how he got that title, it wasn't just his skill alone. It was actually the court of public opinion. Because, you know, when Big News Morgan, he's a hype job. He loves hyping up stuff in the media and the news. Big News Morgan, when it was spread across the world that Shanks lost an arm, by court of public opinion, you would naturally assume, oh, Mihawk must have finally got him. After all, they spent most of their time in their daily duels slugging it out with their swords and whatnot, you know, going back and forth. Their duels would echo through the Grand Line. Their duels would echo through the Grand Line, man. So, as a person who knows this, a regular civilian who is like used to hearing their fights, hearing their clashes, as well as other people listening to their clashes and fights, because like it was echoing throughout the Grand Line. They're like, oh, Shanks and Mihawk, that red-haired and Mihawk are fighting again. They're fighting again. Wait a minute. We no longer hear the echoes. They stopped fighting. Mihawk must have taken Shanks' arms. Didn't you hear? Because Shanks has been walking around recently with one arm. Red-haired Shanks in the news. He lost an arm. Who did he lose this arm to? Could Mihawk have finally defeated the red-haired pirate? You would naturally assume so, and within doing so, the court of public opinion would naturally grant Mihawk the title of the world's greatest because, one, him and Shanks are no longer fighting, and yet people assume that Shanks naturally lost his arm due to a duel that never happened. They assume that Shanks lost his arm to Mihawk, and that's not true. So they're going to assume that, oh, their last duel, it ended in Shanks losing an arm. That's why we haven't heard them duel in such a long time. We've lost the echoes of the blade. So, moving on, if Shanks and Mihawk were to fight again, if Shanks and Mihawk were to fight today, there are only 3 possibilities that could occur. 3 possibilities. And that is, 1, Mihawk beat Shanks. But it's still a loss because, 1, you had an advantage, dude. You had both arms. You beat a cripple. You beat a handicap. So it's a loss of pride, prestige, and notoriety because you beat a cripple. But it's a win because you beat him. But it's a win and loss at the same time. You won because you beat a cripple, but you lost because you beat a cripple. Now, that's the first possibility. Mihawk beat Shanks. Second possibility, because I'm saving the third possibility for last. It's the worst one, I believe. This is the second possibility, though. The second possibility is Shanks beating Mihawk, which would be worse than the first one because, 1, you lost to a cripple. A one-armed man defeated you and is now shown to be the real world's greatest swordsman. It's mentioned that in the story that Mihawk's sword skill is superior to that of Shanks. Keyword, sword skill. His sword skill is superior. Didn't say nothing about hockey. Didn't say nothing about hockey. His sword skill, yes, I'll give him that. But hockey, it didn't mention anything about his hockey being superior, which is what I think Shanks makes up for. So let's say Mihawk's skill is right here and Shanks, we're talking sword skill. Mihawk's skill is right here in terms of the blade. Shanks' skill is just right there, but Mihawk has a slight edge above him. What would make Shanks even with him? The haki that Shanks uses in his swordsplay. Shanks' use of Conqueror's Haki in his swordsplay is what makes him even with Mihawk and puts them on the same playing field when it comes to swordsmanship skill. However, Shanks is still stronger than him due to his Conqueror's Haki. But Mihawk does not have Conqueror's Haki. I'm going to keep saying that because it's true. I don't care. You can fight me on it, argue with me all you want to. But now, getting back to the possibilities of them fighting again. The second possibility, like I said, if Shanks beat him again, he lost to a cripple. And he's been proven a fraud as far as the world's greatest swordsman go. But that would not take away from his stance as a great swordsman in general, because we know he's legendary on top of that. He's legendary. Mihawk is legendary. I will never not give Mihawk his cigars on that one. I got to give him his cigars for that. He's legendary. third possibility. The third possibility of an outcome between Mihawk and Shanks fighting again would naturally be they fight to a tie. Think about this. This is the best possibility because one, it still proves that Shanks would undoubtedly be the world's greatest swordsman. If Mihawk and Shanks fight again and they fight to a tie while Shanks has one arm, man, you didn't lose to Shanks. You didn't beat Shanks. You didn't lose to the one-armed man. You didn't beat the one-armed man, but you tied. You with two arms as the world's greatest swordsman fought to a draw, a one-armed man. Who is the real greatest swordsman at that point? The man who fought him with both arms, who fought him to a tie, or the man with one arm who fought the holder of the world's greatest title to a tie? That's the worst possibility. If they were to fight again and they fight to a tie, Shanks is undoubtedly the world's greatest swordsman. He has one arm and fought Mihawk to a tie. If that were to happen, Shanks will undoubtedly be the world's greatest swordsman because I don't think that Shanks has to necessarily beat Mihawk to be known as the greatest swordsman. If as far as like us viewers and fans, you know what I'm saying, think and believe. Because if they fought again in this third possibility and they fought to a draw, Shanks would undoubtedly be looked at as the world's greatest swordsman because you fought him to a draw with one arm, man. How often does that happen? A one-armed man who's the rival of the world's greatest fighting him again, but to a draw with one arm. Shanks is the real world's greatest swordsman. It's just that Mihawk, outside of his skill and his strength and his feats, the court of public opinion naturally awarded him that title because Big News Morgans spread the propaganda of Shanks possibly losing his arm to Mihawk. Or he may have outright said Shanks lost his arm to Mihawk. But knowing Morgans, he probably made it a juicy byline of, did red-haired Shanks lose his arm to Mihawk? Their last duel, it's been quite a time since their last duel. And now Shanks walks around with one arm. Could this be the result of his last duel with Mihawk? Did Red-Haired lose his arm to Hawkeye Mihawk? He could not be reached for questions. And I bet if you lost, if you ask Shanks, he'll probably tell you, oh, I bet this arm on the new generation. Shanks would probably deny losing to Mihawk, or he would just let you think he lost to Mihawk, knowing Shanks, because he doesn't really care. But Shanks losing his arm, it's so important to the story. It's more important than what we realize. It's not just him sacrificing and betting on Luffy for the future. Shanks essentially gave up his very own dream. Because even though Shanks didn't want to be the next king, I believe that Shanks actually wanted to be the world's greatest swordsman. Shanks wanted to be known as that, or have that title. Not even be known, but I believe Shanks wanted the title of world's greatest swordsman. But he chose to sacrifice his own dream because he saw something bigger than himself when he saw Luffy's ambitions and aspirations for the future of his generation and onward. Shanks gave up his own dream for Luffy's dream. Shanks saw his captain's will in Luffy and got so reminiscent of Roger. Shanks literally sacrificed his own arm and his own dream for Luffy, because I believe Shanks' dream isn't just to be a jolly free pirate. Shanks had a side dream, because we all got we do have main dreams, but we have side dreams of things we want to achieve too. We do. And one of those secondary side dreams that Shanks has, I believe it had to do with being the world's greatest swordsman. Because come on, man, you're not just fighting Mihawk on a daily, having daily duels with Mihawk. You ain't just doing that for no reason. You're not just doing that for the fun of being a pirate. Not just that, but there's more to it than that. You want it to be the greatest. That's why you're fighting the alleged greatest. So the fact that you would sacrifice your arm for some kid in the village who reminds you of your own captain, and you could see them surpassing you and your captain, you see the future in this boy, to the point where you give up your own arm so that he can walk into his future, man, you are the greatest by that act alone, in my opinion, but also because you sacrificed your dream so that you could watch a member of another generation pursue his, because his dream will fulfill not only a special place in your heart, but in the hearts of many around the world, including us viewers and fans watching this and reading this story. So Shanks I believe he is undoubtedly the real world's greatest swordsman, and he will get a chance to prove it once we get into his arc. Because I believe we're already there. Look at all the original Yonko: Big Mom, Kaido, Whitebeard, and Shanks. The original 4 Yonko, right? Shanks is the youngest of them. Yet we got all the older ones in their backstories first. We're getting the back, like, look at what we're in. We're in Elbaf. We're getting the God Valley flashback. We are getting the flashback of 3 original Yonko. Because 1, it's time for us to learn about the 4th original Yonko, and that is Shanks. Shanks is the last original Yonko, because the new ones are Luffy, Buggy, and Blackbeard. Yet Shanks is the oldest and youngest of the. He's the oldest, like not oldest, but he's the last and the youngest of the original Yonko, man. So of course, this God Valley flashback in this Elbaf arc, we have to meet Shanks. It's gonna be Shanks all day. And get this, with Zoro on his quest to become the world's greatest, he already trained 2 years under Mihawk. What's next for Zoro to become the greatest after that? Because he's not ready to beat Mihawk yet. Zoro has to face Shanks. I'm not saying he has to beat Shanks. All I'm saying is Zoro will have to learn from Shanks. Zoro has to encounter Shanks and have like a friendly duel so that Shanks can teach him, like, yo, if you want to learn how to better use your Conqueror's Haki and your swordplay, I can teach you. You know I was Mihawk's rival. Zoro has to meet Shanks along with Luffy. They have to meet, because in order for Zoro to actually beat Mihawk, he has to go meet the only man who ever rivaled him. And Shanks and Zoro both share something in common: Conqueror's Haki, which is why Mihawk chose Zoro. Because if you remember when Mihawk first met Zoro, he told him, somebody like you hasn't come around for quite some time. That quite some time was a reference to the last time Mihawk was fighting Shanks. Shanks was the only and last person to get Mihawk ever excited for a duel and a battle. Zoro reignited the spark in Mihawk's excitement. Zoro has 2 arms. So that's why Mihawk chose Zoro to be the one to challenge him and possibly rise and defeat him. I'm not saying that Mihawk wants to be defeated. He does, but he doesn't. Meaning he's gonna hold that title. But if Mihawk wants to be defeated, he wants it to be by somebody who can hold their own on equal terms of him as far as swordsmanship, skill, merit, and strength of a swordsman, and also possibly the will to stand up on his level. Shanks is that guy already to do that, but Mihawk wants it to be on even terms as far as them having 2 working limbs via their arms. Mihawk can't risk that with Shanks, because the loss of pride and prestige on the honor of losing to a one-armed man or fighting a one-armed man to a tie, that would ruin Mihawk's reputation. If he fought Shanks to a tie, if he fought Shanks and beat him, both of those outcomes, and if Shanks fought him and defeated him with one arm, all 3 of those outcomes bring shame on Mihawk. They do. All 3 of those outcomes do. But Mihawk chose Zoro because Zoro has Conqueror's Haki, and Zoro reminds Mihawk of Shanks due to his spirit and the fact that he carries Conqueror's Haki. I believe Mihawk, you don't have to be a Conqueror's Haki user to sense or be aware that somebody else has the color of the Supreme King. You don't. You can know, you can literally feel it. You don't have to, because we learned this in Amazon Lily when all the Amazonians realized that Luffy has Conqueror's Haki, and they were like, hold on, we thought only Boa could use that ability. But it's an ability used by 1 in a million people, 1 in 7, I don't know, I forgot the odds, but only certain few characteristics of people can use it. I know I got it. I have Conqueror's Haki. I got it myself. And I'm pretty sure some of you out there watching, you got it too. Or maybe you just haven't awakened it yet, but we all have it in a way. Not all of us, but in a way we could. Who knows? But I know for a fact that I got Conqueror's Haki. I know. I have it. I have Conqueror's Haki. I'm playing, man. But listen, man. This has been a great discussion, man. That's all I'm going to leave you with for right now, man. I got to get to work. Got to grind. Got to get where I want to be and do things in life. And I just want to say, if you're going through something, man, you're having a hard time right now, man, keep your head up, please. I know it's easier said than done, but listen, the hard times makes the strongest. You know, you'll discover untapped potential and untapped strength you didn't even know you had. I'm still learning that each and every day. And when you're on a road to get better at anything, you're gonna get weaker before you get stronger. It's natural, it's a part of the process. You got nothing to be ashamed of. It's okay to cry. It's okay to cry, man, but you can't dwell on your tears. You can't. I mean, sometimes I did that a lot, you know, back in the game, and sometimes I still do it currently, but I'm breaking that. You know, nobody is perfect, but you'll never achieve perfection, but you can strive. You can strive to be great. You can strive to be better. So to all of you out there, if you're going through hard times, man, I love you. I pray you nothing but the best intentions and will. And we're going to get through this. We're going to get through it together. We're going to make something of our lives. We're going to make something of ourselves. We're going to do great things, man. I love you all. I do. Sincerely yours. This is JD Rich, man, coming back at you with another One Piece video. And remember, a piece of life is life in one piece. Peace.